Alright, gentlemen, it looks like we're live. And I also think there's some grease on this camera. So, today we will be discussing why getting started with cold approach is so incredibly hard. Why you have these fears, why you have approach anxiety. Because most likely, if you're watching this video, you are not cold approaching, or you are trying to get started. You want to do your first approaches. Maybe you've done some approaches, but it's not really working, or you're not getting the results you really want. And I was just thinking lately, like, what changed with me? How did I change over the last 3 to 4 years? Because in the last 3 to 4 years, I have completely transformed my dating life, and not just my dating life, but my entire life, professional life. I've changed jobs, I've changed social circle, friends, because of learning the skill of daytime cold approach. So what is daytime cold approach? Daytime cold approach is walking over to a woman in the middle of the day, on the street, in the mall, shopping center, the gym, supermarket, Christmas market these days, and just giving her a straightforward compliment, starting a conversation, going on an instant date, collecting a WhatsApp, an Instagram, and setting up a date, meeting up the woman, maybe having her as your girlfriend later on. So why listen to me? My name is Baltis. I'm a 31-year-old European guy. I live in Belgium. I'm technically half French, half Belgian. I'm a normal guy. Okay, I'm not extremely, ripped. I'm not extremely good looking. I've been working normal jobs. I don't have a very high status. I'm not a rock star. I don't play in some cool band. I'm not rich. I've been a order picker. I've been a motorcycle helmet seller. I've been a hotel manager, and now I work in tech sales. Cold approach coaching is a passion project. However, in 2026, most likely I will do this more and more, and this will be my full-time business. So I was just thinking, these days, like, comparing my former self, the old version of me 3 years ago to who I am today. And I was just thinking, what changed? Why wasn't I approaching 3 to 4 years ago, and why is it going so well right now? And just to give you guys an example of the past year, because we're almost in the new year, just to give you guys an example of what happened in my romantic life and my dating life in 2025. It's quite incredible. And all the romantic encounters, all the girls I met, or all girls I met through daytime cold approach. So I don't drink, I do go to parties sometimes, but I'm not really a club guy. It depends on who I go out with. But all the girls I met in 2025 is all daytime cold approach. I've dated girls I met in the gym. I've dated girls I met on the streets of Barcelona, Serbia, Belgrade, Perugia in Italy, Ghent in Belgium, Antwerp in Belgium, Brussels in Belgium. I've even cold approached in Egypt, but that's tourists in the big mall in Hurghada. That in the resort in Hurghada as well, hung out with girls there. So no dating apps, that's the point. No dating apps, no alcohol, no parties. Because the biggest problem guys have, definitely if you're like in your 30s, is how do you meet women? Because the older you get, the more you're the most likely you'll spend more and more time by yourself. When you're younger, you have school, you have more social circles, and if you grow up in the West, most likely the older you get, the more individualized your life is, and you don't have the girls from school, you don't have these things in place that will make it more easy for you to meet girls. So and on top of that, dating apps are just not for guys in their 30s. It just doesn't work out with dating apps. It's garbage. I installed Bumble about 2 weeks ago. and I've deleted it after a week. It's a complete joke. Dating apps are not in favor of men, and definitely not in favor of men in their 30s. Completely impossible. So, what I was thinking the last days is, what changed? Who am I now after learning the skill of daytime cold approach compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago? And the main thing I would say is the mindset and the strong belief in myself. That's the biggest difference. And so, as I was about to say, in 2025, just to give you guys some examples of the experiences I've had 100% through the means of daytime cold approach. So, I've been to Perugia to the Umbria Jazz Festival. I cold approached a girl there. Then, a year later, I met that girl again. So this is step 1, cold approach her. Step 2, a year later, go back to the same festival. I dated her there. A year later, she flew to Belgium to visit me. So that's not all in 2025, right? But she flew to Belgium in 2025. This is because of cold approach. I'm 31 years old. That girl was 20 years old when she flew to Belgium to see me. What else happened? I've spent March in Barcelona, in Spain. I've done a lot of damage there together with Ephraim and Joseph. I mean, you can see the history of that on this channel. Literally the first time ever I was on camera cold approaching is the video on my homepage. So if you go to my homepage, this video with the title, I approached a model and her twin sisters or something like that. That's the first day ever I was on camera. So, and that's almost a year ago now. So in March, I met a few great girls, but to be honest, I went home. I remember going home feeling frustrated. I was just disappointed with my results. I felt like I didn't really meet I met great girls, but I didn't date the girls I really wanted to date. I remember that. And then, strange enough, out of one of these dates, a girl I dated twice in Barcelona, and on the second date, she told me she had a boyfriend, which kind of pissed me off. So I never kissed that girl. But when I was back in Belgium in April, she actually flew back. She flew to Belgium to meet me also. So that's the second girl that flies over to Belgium to meet me. She sent me some messages, like we actually had quite some back and forth over WhatsApp, and she said something like, what did you do to me? I had a fight with my boyfriend, blah blah blah. She was basically desperately looking for a rebound, but she was a great girl. She ended up being my girlfriend for about 6 months. Had a long distance relationship with her, so also daytime cold approach. Then we broke up. Then a girl from Serbia I met around June or July flew over to Belgium to visit me. So those are girls making an effort to come see me. Some of them I've dated in their country of origin, some not. For example, dated but not slept with them, not even kissed with them, and still they flew over to Belgium to meet me. So this is just one example. Then in the last 2 weeks, I had 2 instant dates. One girl I met in the main shopping street here in Ghent. We went on an instant date in McDonald's. That was funny. I call her the gangster girl. Didn't see her back after that. I had another instant date 1 week later with a Belgian girl wearing a beautiful fur coat and white leather boots. Just absolutely stunning girl. Went to a nice bar with her, went to the movies with her the same day, took her home the same day. So these are just things that all happened because of daytime cold approach. Just wanted to lay that out for you guys. And those are just great experiences. And so to get back to the main point, why is it so hard to get started with daytime cold approach? Why is it so difficult to to do your first approaches, and why do you have all these anxieties and this stress and these fears about what's going to happen? And I think looking back on who I was 3 to 4 years ago, I was very much afraid of getting caught, of colleagues seeing me in the city center, friends seeing me, ex-girlfriends spotting me in the city center. I live in a fairly small city, so that can be a problem. If you live in a small city, you don't wanna stay in a small city. It has to be at least 500,000 people or more, and we're at like 200,000. So small cities is an issue, but I was afraid of getting caught, afraid of the spotlight effect. That's something sometimes still have. It's a weird one. It kind of switches on and off, and I only have this in my own city, because I've had approaches where an ex-girlfriend saw me and was just looking at me like, what the hell's going on? I've done approaches with colleagues from my old job looking at me. I've approached girls while other girls who are passing by that I've approached before, but it's all in your mind, and ultimately, it's no one's business who you're talking to. Even on the Christmas market now, there's girls looking at us while I'm approaching with my friend. It's all in your mind. Also, this difference between the street and the mall, or the street and the shops, or just how do I approach a gym and a girl in the gym? How do I approach a girl in the supermarket? How do I approach a girl that walks into the mall, or that I spotted on the street, but then she disappears into Zara or in some other shop? How do I do that? It's basically all the same, and the biggest difference is the social pressure you feel when walking into a new environment. And that social pressure is real. However, it doesn't mean you can't approach. It's basically the same thing. So it is before you say to yourself like, I'm so introverted, I can't do this, I have all these anxieties. I used to be a very, very introverted, very shy kid, very artistic kid. I used to lie down on the floor, lock myself up in my piano practice room, lie down on the carpet, and listen to classical music on a CD player. That's what I did. I was a very sensitive, shy little boy, being a toddler, and so the point here is, it doesn't matter if you think you're shy or introverted. Don't hold on to the identity of being the introverted guy. Don't do that. It's stupid. And taking action will change how you see yourself. So cold approach it's in part a skill set issue. Yeah, like you need to know how to cold approach a woman in the right way, how to be direct, how your body language needs to be, how you stop her. Most guys don't even know how to stop a woman. They don't know how to give a compliment. They give like bullshit compliments like, oh, you're so cute. I mean, you can say cute, but it can also be a bullshit compliment. They're trying indirect things. They are asking for directions. They're asking for the time. They're asking like, hey, do you know where there's a nice coffee shop, blah blah blah. I'm not saying these things can't work, but it's just completely inferior compared to being very direct and very, very bald and ballsy. That's basically the biggest difference. So if you have problems with cold approaching, yes, it's a skill set issue, but it's mostly a mindset issue. And if you think about it, guys in the United States and in Western Europe, Canada, United States, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, the UK, most likely your real problem is the life you are living. It is the mindset you have. It's the beliefs you have around yourself, about who you are, about what you're supposed to do. Maybe you have a lot of shame about, and you might not even consciously realize this, but you might have a lot of shame about being attracted to women, because for basically generations now, for years and years or years, the entire cultural setup is basically against masculinity and against men, and against men expressing their attraction for the feminine. So yeah, the problem is not cold approach, it's basically the life you're living. If I think about how I was going out 4 years ago with one of my Belgian friends here in the city center, I had so much stress, so much anxieties, so much self-limiting beliefs. I was afraid people would see me. I was afraid I would get called out for what I was doing. I was also afraid of approaching a girl who would know another girl, and then they would talk about it, which happened multiple times, by the way. And even my friends back then who were sharing cold approach infields from, it was James Marshall in Barcelona, James Marshall in New York, who would send me these videos, which basically proves they're interested in learning this skill, because deep down you know cold approach could be the way to make you meet and attract the women you really want, because there's literally no other option. You don't have another option. So deep down you know it's what you're supposed to do. However, immediately after checking these videos and sharing these videos with me, when it comes down to taking action and doing something, there's this fear, this hesitation, and your mind starts creating all sorts of excuses for not doing anything, for not going out. And even guys shaming each other, like, oh, but it won't, you're not supposed to do this, it's not gonna work. And the typical garbage excuses like, she's in a hurry, she's on her phone, girls like this probably have boyfriends. I remember being with a friend in Italy who's no longer my friend because he's an idiot. We were sitting there in Perugia on the Umbria Jazz Festival. So this is a medieval Italian city, gorgeous city. There's a yearly jazz festival. We're sitting there in the old city center as like Belgian waffle eating boys with like low self-esteem, no real cold approach skills, and and all of a sudden, like when it gets dark, like you have like hundreds and hundreds of absolutely stunning young Italian girls between 18 and 24, just absolute bombshells. Beautiful hair, beautiful jewelry, classical style, leather boots, short skirts, very sexy and very elegant, very classy, very classy and sexy style. And we were just totally overwhelmed. It just was such a weird feeling coming from a small city in Ghent in Belgium as a Western European guy sitting there like, thinking about how am I going to solve the dating problem? How am I going to solve the cold approach problem? And you go on a trip for the music, basically. You're not expecting to see hot young 20-year-olds. Totally overwhelmed, sitting there in the evening, not knowing what to do. And my friend said, well, girls like this, they most likely have a boyfriend. His mind was just running this program, running this, these limiting beliefs around, and basically making up excuses for not approaching anyone, right? Because you're afraid, because you're scared. And I did some like approaches. I opened girls sitting down in groups, eventually asking something like, I don't know, do you have a lighter or some garbage, which worked. It worked. And we spent the entire evening talking to some girls. But yeah, just to give you an example that guys make garbage excuses for not approaching women. So the life you're living, your local life, and what you believe to be true about yourself, what you believe, what your friends are telling you is right and wrong, what your family is telling you you should do. It all impacts your beliefs around dating and women. Maybe you don't have masculine role models. Maybe you don't have a father showing you how to approach women or how to deal with women. Maybe you don't have a feminine, maybe you don't have like a mother that shows you how good feminine behavior is like. Those are all options, yeah. So yeah, again, what else do we have? I wrote down so much things. So yeah, the cultural conditioning that sabotages men. That's definitely something I learned in the last weeks. We live in a culture where men are told to be nice, to be passive, to be permission seeking, which is a massive issue. Like how the hell can you expect to be living and dating with the girls you really want to, not some 5, 6 and 6.5, 7 girls, average looking girls from dating apps like Tinder and Bumble. How do you think you will finally meet and attract the high value women you really want if you grew up as a man in the West? It's basically impossible. Like, you live in a comfort culture, you're told to be passive, you're told to be permission seeking. Most likely your school or your family structure is basically a matriarchy, like women are the boss. Belgium is a matriarchy, 100%. Women are the boss. I don't give a shit what anyone says, but women have the last word. Women make the decisions for you. My family is definitely matriarchy. Women are the boss. There's basically no strong father figure. There's no masculine role models. It's just not there. So how could I ever meet and attract the women I want being a Belgian waffle eater, like Joseph said? That's a funny name for a Belgian dude. So learning the skill of daytime cold approaching and getting coached by Christian completely transformed my mindset and changed me from being an anxious overthinker and a guy that would always analyze everything into making myself feel and believe. When I did a 10-day immersion in Barcelona, for the first time I could really feel and believe that I'm the guy who takes action. If I take action, I get results. I can meet and attract the women I really want without changing too much, apart from my social skills, some taking action, and that's it. I mean, I was working a normal job. My style is decent, probably above average decent. I wasn't suddenly getting rich. I wasn't suddenly jacked. I just took action and worked on my social skills that in turn transformed my mindset and then transformed the outcome. And suddenly I was dating so many gorgeous girls. I mean, I basically had a girlfriend during my first week of learning daytime cold approach. My first date with her was in a strip club in Barcelona. That's not a lie. I remember lying down on my back with 2 strippers on top of me, and then the girl I was dating kind of joining us in some bed in, I don't remember which strip club in Barcelona, but that was quite an incredible experience. So if you get coached by me, you might end up with 2 strippers and your next girlfriend in bed. That's a nice experience. So we have a comfort culture. Men become spectators instead of participants. That's a funny one. Well, it's not really funny. It's more like tragic. For example, when I go to the gym, recently, a couple of days ago, I was in the gym and I spotted this incredibly hot girl, Brazilian girl. Everybody's staring at her ass, right? All the guys are like, staring. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody's saying anything. Maybe some guy at some point will say like, oh, how many sets, how many reps, this garbage. So she has an audience everywhere she goes. I go straight in, cold approach, have a like 15-minute conversation with her, get her Instagram. She didn't respond to my Instagram message, by the way. I saw her again yesterday on the Christmas market. Had a short conversation with her, but it is what it is. You know, you can't be successful all the way 100% of the time. But yeah, so guys are staring at girls, they're talking about girls, they're looking at porn, they're looking at TikTok, they're looking at Instagram, but they are not talking to them, they're not cold approaching. And then in turn, some of the guys will make excuses and shame each other for wanting to learn about cold approach, which just doesn't make any sense. If there's anything to be ashamed of, it's the fact that you're not cold approaching at all. That's a real problem. So, and then you have dating app culture as well. The dating app culture, I remember visiting my godchild with his parents, and some guy was sitting there talking about, oh yeah, I met a nice girl, blah blah. We've been in touch for a while. Okay, and so the conversation goes on for like 10 minutes until it reaches a point where he says that he actually never met her in person, and they've been texting over Bumble for like 2 weeks now. So that's just insanity. Dating app culture, comfort culture, social circles that keep you small. That's another one. That was my problem as well. My friends were absolute idiots 4 years ago. I don't see these people anymore, but they were absolute complete idiots. Sending me like discussions on some, I don't know, Reddit forum or something else, sending me discussions how guys that want to learn pickup, or like they're narcissists, or how cold approach is wrong, right? So they're sending me infields from James Marshall, cold approaching women in Budapest, New York, and Barcelona. And then the same guys would also send me these topics, these discussions online about that somehow proves that cold approach, talking to women, is wrong, which is just another way of finding a reason to not do anything. By the way, those guys are absolute fucking losers right now, drug addicts doing nothing. I think one of them just lived with a woman for like 2 years, and even before he moved in with her, he was like complaining about not wanting to live with her, basically, but then still ended up living with her for 2 years and complained about it for 2 years. That's just insane. When I was cold approaching on the Christmas market recently, I checked my phone and I had like 20 missed calls from an old friend saying like, hey, one of her friends went missing because he took the car, he drove off for a whole day. Nobody knows where he is because he just found out that his wife cheated on him while she was on a trip in Egypt. She fucked an Egyptian. No surprise. Of course she fucked an Egyptian. So I won't go into detail about that story, but I was just thinking, I'm living the life. I'm cold approaching beautiful girls. I'm having fun with my friends. I don't have any relationship problems. I'm not in a situationship. I'm not dealing with any negative behavior from any woman. I'm not married. I'm not saying you shouldn't get married. I mean, you should if you want to. But I'm not dealing with marriage problems. My girlfriends are never cheating on me. Never. I don't think any of my girlfriends ever cheated on me. And if she did, then it was because we weren't really together in the first place. The only time a girl cheated on me was basically to revenge me and to hurt me on purpose, to prove to prove something, basically to annoy me, to hurt me, and for revenge because I refused to be her boyfriend. So yeah, is that cheating if you're not really together? I don't know, I guess it could be. So social circles that keep you small. If you have friends and family telling you shouldn't cold approach, if you're trying to find wings to cold approach together with in your city, but your friends are either idiots, they refuse to do it, or they're doing it in the completely wrong way, forget about it. It's never going to work. And this goes together with the I already know how to do this delusion, which some people have. I've seen this in Serbia, I've seen this in Belgium. The guys that will give very lengthy, in-depth explanations on how they already know things about women and they know things that other guys don't know. It's so typical. The I already know this delusion. It's complete garbage. Men who pretend they know cold approach in theory, and it's just ego protection. It's ego protection. Protecting them from doing uncomfortable things. That's what it is. And they will just stay stuck. They will stay stuck. Literally every guy that is not successful with this is a stubborn, delusional, and negative, pessimistic guy. That they all have this thing in common. They're not open-minded enough. They're too negative. They're too stuck in a negative headspace. They're surrounded by the wrong people, and you'll just never learn the skill of daytime cold approach. So in all the guys that are very good at daytime cold approach are optimists, they're positive people, and they are genuinely improving their life. It's what they all have in common. If you look at the entourage, if you look at Ephraim, Joseph, everybody I know that is successful in daytime cold approach, that is getting real results, they are genuinely positive people. And that's basically it. So it's not some pickup club. It's not some little club where we exchange cute lines and strategies. That's another thing guys are afraid of, to be labeled as the pickup guy. It just means that people don't really know what pickup is or what cold approach really is. So the real reason why you're stuck is because you need to learn the skill properly, and you don't have a wingman. You don't have somebody that shows you how to do it, and also that somebody that's standing next to you and giving you permission and that pushes you beyond what you're currently doing. If you really want to stay lonely and stagnant, then just refuse to get help. Refuse to admit you have a problem. Delude yourself and your friends into thinking and believing that you already know how to cold approach. That's the best way to get zero results. And the guys who succeed are positive or optimistic and invest in themselves, are open-minded, and they refuse to live an average life. So you don't accept mediocrity. If you accept mediocrity, if you like sitting in your living room with your girlfriend, watching TV, ordering pizza, if that's what you really like, then it's never going to work. Unless you're like so in love with her, but even then I would not recommend sitting inside with her eating pizza and watching Netflix. That's just stupid, but okay. Then this video is not for you. So yeah, there's a lot more I wanted to talk about, but I really need to run to the bathroom, so I don't think it's gonna be for now. So yeah, the real problem is not just cold approach. The real problem is your lifestyle, is the culture, is your friends, your social circle, your limiting beliefs. If you're ashamed for being a heterosexual man, and you might not even consciously realize this, but that's a real issue. That's a real problem. That's something I struggle with for years, thinking about this. That's a real issue. So if you fix your lifestyle, if you fix your social circle, if you take action to fix your mindset, if you surround yourself with the right people, if you stop being ashamed, if you stop being cynical, stop being negative, if you invest in the proper people, the right social circle, it actually should be a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but it definitely should be a coach that knows what he is doing. If you understand female psychology, if you can build momentum by taking action, then cold approach becomes easy, natural, simple, fun, and obvious. So now, what changed most inside myself? What changed comparing myself, like the Baltus today and the Baltus 3 to 4 years ago is just a mindset, and the fact that when I see a beautiful woman, it makes me happy. I'm interested in meeting her, and I'm just genuinely curious, you know? It's exciting. I don't feel afraid anymore. And it will fix your self-esteem, will fix your dating life, of course. It will probably fix your professional life as well, and many other things. So I'll end the live here because, yeah. Let me see if there was anything else. Yeah. Just some, maybe as the last thing is that your friends will not save you, you know? Don't wait for your friends to help you out with daytime cold approach. It's a mistake I made. I remember saying to one of my Belgian friends, look, I want to invest in some coach. I just wanted to meet somebody who could actually do this, and I wanted to meet and understand a guy that's really good with daytime cold approach. That's something that I really wanted years ago, and I did it, and it was definitely the best decision ever. So just think about it. Find somebody you like that can help you out with this, and just see what happens to everything in your life. I'll see you again next time.